Hello, I'm Doug Roaring here in Juniper Level Botanic Garden, the home of Plant Delights Nursery. And today I'm going to demonstrate two techniques to clean up your canna lilies. I don't normally call them canna lilies, just cannas, because they aren't lilies at all. And I want to make it clear, the plant does not require this. The plant doesn't care what it looks like as long as it has pretty flowers to attract pollinators. These are techniques to keep your plants looking at their best if you're focused on, having a beautiful display in your garden. First of all, deadheading, removing spent flowers on the cannas. We don't let them go to seed because the seedlings wouldn't come true. They're a little raggedy. But notice that this inflorescence has multiple branches, 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 branches. And here's a younger stem. The first branch is in bloom. You wouldn't cut this off because under this sheath there's another bud right here that'll be a second branch, and normally there's a third or fourth branch. So with this one, I'm checking there are no additional branches or flower buds. They're all spent. Now this is a great big one. There's no buds there. We can and so, I'm leaving this branch because these flower buds have just started to open. And, well, this branch is done, and that branch is done, and that branch is done. So if you're cleaning up cannas, always check to see if there's a new branch with a cluster of flower buds on there, and that's one there. So don't immediately cut the whole thing off. Determine whether or not there's still more flower buds to come on. Now we're going to take a few steps and look at another clump of cannas. The canna we just looked at was one called Red Tiger with striped leaves. This is a really old cultivar, Minerva, with striped leaves and yellow flowers. And I'm not going to spend any time deadheading the flower stalks. I'm going to do something that the plants taught me to do. And cannas are putting up new growth all summer long. And I use summer in a very broad sense, meaning the warm, frost-free part of the year. So they've been putting up new growth at least since April. It's now October. And they will put up new stems. And the new stems only have buds up at the top of the shoot. And once that stem is done blooming, it won't produce any additional flowers. And some of the stems that were produced early in the year are now fairly unsightly. And so what the Cannas taught me to do was to go in and cut out these oldest stems. And my tool of choice is a really sharp knife. Certainly, if you're not comfortable with using a knife, a really sharp pair of pruning shears can be used. It needs to be sharp because the canna stems are very fibrous, and if your tools aren't sharp, it just sort of gum them. So, and I'm cutting them off down to the ground. You can see the stems I've cut out are quite ugly. They're not quite as evident in the center of the plant as they are when we remove them, but after we've cut out a bunch, what remains will look that much better. And I'm looking for these oldest stems that are completely done. They often still have foliage, but the foliage is tired, and this technique is most useful for these cannas that have colorful foliage. See, this one, the leaves are still photosynthesizing, but they're pretty unattractive, so I'm taking that stem out. And you can even take out young shoots if they're unsightly. And I'm guessing this doesn't necessarily promote them to put up new growth, but it does make for a better looking clump of foliage when you're done. You won't need to do this before maybe midsummer, but by then the oldest stems are quite a few months old. April to August is, well, 4 or 5 months, thereabouts. Now this clump has been growing really strongly this year. We don't fertilize on a regular basis, just every year or two we do a soil test and add organic fertilizer if necessary. But if your cannas have not been growing robustly, this could also be a good time to feed them. Well, I'm doing this in October as a demonstration, but if it was midsummer and the cannas needed a shot in the arm, that would also be a good time to give them a bit of fertilizer at that time. If your soil has enough phosphorus and potassium, you probably just need to add a little nitrogen to the planting to give it a shot in the arm. But as I said, these have been growing strongly. I'm not going to spend 30 minutes, I'm not going to make this video into a 30-minute video, but I think you begin to see, or hopefully begin to see, that if you cut out these old stems, what remains looks very much better because you're no longer looking at brown or half brown foliage. So it's a way to quickly clean up improve the appearance of a stand of cannas. You might do it once a summer, or a couple times a summer at the most. And as I said at the beginning of the video, it's not anything the plant requires, it just makes for a better garden presentation. So I hope that's a technique that you'll find useful. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again in the garden.